My name is Patricia Decker. I'm a resident of Northport, Florida, and I am being terrorized by the Northport Police Department on a daily basis. My son is now being terrorized. My dogs have been terrorized. We've had mortuary vans show up at our house that were hired by them out of Palmetto Crematory, Barton's Crematory. We've had to move into other people's homes for several months at a time, here, there, and everywhere, just for our safety. This all started on Tidwell Street when they were harassing me every night, throwing things at my bedroom windows, leaving neck chokers, water bottles, so forth on my property. When I went and turned them in for evidence, and my mother and I went to get the evidence back, the Northport Police Department said I never turned in any evidence. I got a phone call from my brother that told me it was them doing it to me. When I went to get the evidence and they said they never got any evidence, then I realized he was telling me the truth. And I had collapsed and died twice with no potassium in me, and my son had to do CPR on me at the age of 12. Because they had me so stressed out. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't do anything. They were terrorizing me every single night. I had surgery done on my shoulder. I was hospitalized for a week. There was no drugs, no alcohol, no narcotics in me, no nicotine, nothing. They said all we can figure out is that you have low potassium. That's due to stress and not eating. So I had surgery done on my shoulder, and in the meantime, Stephen Swan's wife ran over my dog at 70 miles an hour on Tidwell Street when the neighbor was calling my dog to her house in front of my nephew and in front of my girlfriend and in front of several witnesses. The day I was moving out of Tidwell, I had bought the new house, I was at the doctor's. Stephen Swan drove through my no trespassing gates, went into my house, grabbed my carpet cleaner by the collar and said, "Where's the girl? I'm going to kick her ass," which is, to me, considered a home invasion. And he was like, "I don't know what you're talking about, but you need to get out of here. There's all no trespassing signs and you need to leave." So when I came back, he had his truck parked on my property, and I said, "Who are you? What are you doing here?" And he said, "I'm going to kick your effing ass. I'm a doctor," which he's not a doctor at all. He's a lab tech. And I said, "You know what?" I was all wrapped up like a mummy. I couldn't even hardly move, except my little right arm. And I called the police. The police came out and said, if anyone goes to jail, it's going to be Decker, which is me. They didn't trespass him. They didn't arrest him. They said they were going to make up that I punched holes on the roof of his truck, which was so high off the ground. I said, I'll have 3 surgeons testify that that's physically impossible for me to do. Oliver, the carpet cleaner that he assaulted, said she wasn't even here when it took place. You can't arrest her. She wasn't even involved in this. And they said, well, if anyone goes, it's going to be Decker. The police officer had the no trespassing sign embedded in his gut. He said, I don't see any no trespassing signs. And Oliver said, it's embedded in your gut, sir. How can you not see it when it's embedded in your gut? She's got 5 other ones up. Steve Swan, being best friends with Sergeant Stella, when I moved into the new house, Sergeant Stella took over and started stalking my son and myself for about 2 months with Stephen Swan, because I caught his truck in front of my house several times and chased him into the estates. Came home at night. My son was trying to go to bed, and there was a guy deep breathing so heavy in the bushes that he couldn't sleep. He was scared to death. So he came to me and said, Mommy, someone's out in the bushes. So I went outside with one of my dogs, and he was on my property, and we were like he was right there. He was not in uniform, he was in street clothes, but I didn't know who he was. I couldn't see his face, I could just see his figure. And I said, I'm going to give you 3 opportunities to come out of the bushes, and let's just take care of this now because you're destroying our lives. He wouldn't come out, but he kept going like he was going to kill us. So I told my son to go in and get the laser taser, which he didn't because he didn't believe in violence, and brought me out the grizzly bear mace. I brought the dog back in, and I drenched him with a can of grizzly bear mace. I called 911. 2 Northport police officers came out and said, Decker, what did you do to him? I said, I grizzly bear maced him. Okay? And they said, oh my gosh, we'll give you $20 if you taser him in the groin. He's the biggest jerk to work for. You can't even imagine what he's putting you through, what he puts us through. We hate him. And I'm like, you know who this is? And they were like, yeah, it's Sergeant Stell of the Northport Police Department. And from all their hell broke loose. They're at my house day and night destroying it, trying to kick it in, doing all this illegal stuff. And then he tries to get me on a Baker Act, which is impossible because I'm not Baker Act material. Goes to my neighbor and threatens to take him to jail if he doesn't press stalking charges on me. My neighbor refused. Then I come home and they swatted my house. And he took me with no charge. He's on a loudspeaker saying, Decker, come out, I have a warrant for your arrest. He had no warrant for me. He wasn't saying anything about Chachi Jenkins. He said, shoot the Rottweiler in the head through the glass. My neighbor videotaped the whole thing. And it's been hell ever since. They beat me. He put his boot in my back. Officer Stella said, you're going to give me the DVR to your cameras. And I said, no, I'm not. Unless the judge tells me I have to. Andrea Flynn Mogelson was on my phone. She was recording the whole thing. She was vomiting because she could hear them beating me. And he said, I'm going to arrest you and kick your ass every day until you give me that DVR to your camera systems. And I said, well, I'm not giving it to you unless the judge tells me I have to. Then, I go to court, adjudication withheld for disturbing the peace, which I wasn't even doing, with the right to civil suit. Then I file a restraining order on Detective Voigt, who is working with him to ruin my life. And the judge redirects the restraining order to a civil suit lawsuit. They try to arrest my son at school for made-up charges that I overheard. The school got involved, backed us up 100%, said Nicholas isn't like this, we're not, this isn't happening. Sergeant Wallace said he had no idea of what was happening between me and Northport, that he was oblivious, though when I read the Northport Police Department records, his name's all over them because I reported all the damage they did when they swatted my house at February 13, 2011 at 3:30 in the morning, and we were lined up like we were hostages in Iraq. And he was trying to go through my front door, and they were waving guns, and they were smashing at my house, and they tore up my solar system to my pool, they dented my fence all up, they kicked in my garage, they lifted up the door to my garage, messed up my front door, and they were just running around waving guns and smashing my French doors to my pool, everything. They had no right to even be there. No one had called it. My neighbor called and said, what are you guys doing to her? What is happening at that house? And it's on videotape. Northport police car pulls up, puts out the big flashlight. They all congregate in my front yard with their guns and everything. And they get into their car and they disappear. And there was no warrant, there was nothing, no reason for them to be on my property. They did about $20,000 worth of damage to my house, never mind the mental abuse that they put me and my son and the kid that lives in my house through. We were scared to death. And it just continued from there. It's been every single day. They follow me. They throw rocks wherever I stay at all night. They do everything they can to me, and it's all illegal activity. And they've been getting away with it for 3 years. I've dropped dead twice, and I just can't take it anymore.
Snakes.
They've left water moccasins in my backyard, pythons. I said there's a beautiful red bird. The next day it was shot and left in my backyard. Just horrific, horrific things that I don't even know how a human being could live with themselves doing. I don't know how anyone could do that to these animals, and I've let them all go free. Except for the rats. They sliced it all up and left on my pool deck, along with the baby water moccasin. I let everything that was alive go free. And it's all documented with my doctors and everything. There's nothing wrong with me mentally. I'm totally alert, stable, and oriented. And I don't do anything criminal. And they took my son's childhood away. They've destroyed my parents' lives. They've done everything they can to just destroy us. And it's all been illegal activity. None of it's been justified.
Great.
I was picking up my son from school one day, And this officer in street clothes, this big huge dude that you're going to see in this video right now, approached the school officer, Officer Weigel, and said, "Where's Decker's mother? I want to see where her car is because I'm taking care of her